Hockey season is here, and the Islanders are looking to bounce back from a disappointing season last year. So joining us to break down all things Isles is New York Post Ethan Sears. Now, Ethan, let's get straight into it because it was a quiet offseason for Lou Lamoriello. The Islanders struggled to score last season, but for some reason they didn't really add any forward pieces. Two-part question: why not, and is that a cause for concern?
Yeah, well, the reason why really comes down to the Islanders have a belief that that their core that they've had for a number of years can win, and they affirmed that last year at the trade deadline when they didn't sell anyone off, and they affirmed it during the offseason when they didn't add anybody and kept that forward group in place. As to whether it's a cause for concern, you know, we can see. If they get off to a slow start, then certainly I think you have to start to question the philosophy that's gotten them there. But at the same time, this is the group that, by and large, made two straight Eastern Conference Finals and has a lot of playoff experience. So, we'll see how the early part of the season goes, but TBD.
We're going to talk about those two conference finals in a bit, but let's go back to Barry Trotz being fired back in May. What's going to be different under Lane Lambert?
Well, the biggest thing right now looks like it's going to be a more aggressive style that they're going to play. I talked to Matthew Barzal after practice today, and he was saying, when you look at the Colorado Avalanche or the Carolina Hurricanes, they have all their guys up the ice, joining the attack, and that's really a way that the Islanders want to start to play, and something that's really started to be stressed under Lane Lambert here.
All right, so one of the new faces on the ice is defenseman Alexander Romanov, longtime NHLer. Zdeno Chara is no longer with the team. He retired. So what can we expect from the Blue Liners this season?
Yeah, Brandon. Well, kind of to what I was just talking about, I think you're going to see the defensemen get more involved in the attack. And some of that is going to be Alexander Romanov. Some of that is going to be Robin Salo, who will also be in the opening night lineup. And you're just going to see those guys being up in the play more. Romanov specifically also has a really physical element to his game. We already saw in the preseason against the Rangers, he had a big hit on Vincent Trocheck that got him a fine for charging, and he can really bring that element to the game as well.
All right, you talk about being aggressive on the defensive attack, but let's talk about the goaltending. Why should Islanders fans be confident in this goaltending duo?
Well, it's probably one of the biggest strengths of the team right now. Ilya Sorokin and Semyon Varlamov are two high-level goaltenders. We saw last year with Sorokin that he's someone who can really, be kind of in the upper echelon of the league and elevate the game of everyone else and keep them in it every night. As for Varlamov, even in what last year was a little bit of a down year for him, he's still one of the better sort of 1B goaltenders in the league. Somebody who has a lot of experience, somebody who has been with the Islanders for a good period of time. And really, when you look at this roster, I think the goaltending is probably the position that's their biggest strength right now.
All right, now let's revisit the conference finals. You talked about the team making it back in 2020 and 2021, but they missed the playoffs last season. Point blank, will this team make the postseason this year, and why?
I think they probably will, but it's going to be tight. When it comes down to it, last year, there were a lot of factors that were out of their control that resulted in them struggling. They had a COVID outbreak at a really poor time. Their schedule was weird. They started with 13 straight games on the road. And by the time they got their feet under them, it was a little bit too late. Presumably that won't be a factor this year. They start at home. Fingers crossed there's not a COVID outbreak again. And ultimately, these players have proven that they can win some games. I don't know that it's realistic to expect them to go and contend for a Stanley Cup again. There are some serious concerns, like we've talked about, with their scoring and with the general age of the group. But I think that they should be much improved from last year.
All right, Ethan, it's going to be a long season. Looking forward to having you back. Thanks for joining us, my man.
Thanks for having me, Brandon.